Hello everybody! I know it's been a while since last video. I first off went to the Swedish Championships, which is what this video and the next one will be about. And after that I got a little bit sick, so I was kind of sniffly for a few days. Well, the last thing is that we're working on the van, and it turns out that building a van takes a lot longer than one might think. So we're just working day in, day out to try and get that done, which makes it so that I don't have quite as much time to edit videos and do other stuff, because there's only so many hours of the day. But yeah, we're gonna quickly jump into the episode of today. And so I have the footage right in front of me here of the qualifiers, which is what we're gonna take a look at today for the combined nationals in the Swedish Championship. So yeah, let's get going. I figured I would do like a little bit of a voiceover, and we can look at the footage together and talk a little bit about what each climb was like and what's going on. And so the way that this worked was that we had lead climbing and bouldering championships were during this weekend, and at the same time the combined finals would be these two combined at the very end of the event, which meant that we would do 6 rounds in total. So 1 lead qualifier, which is what we're looking at right now, 1 boulder qualifier, 1 boulder final, 1 lead final, 1 boulder combined final, 1 lead combined final. So it was quite the exhausting event, and we all knew that like you had to be really fit in order to actually be able to sustain yourself and sustain your skin throughout the event. So every route, every boulder, every mistake kind of counted here. So yeah, that's just the premise of it all. The new combined format that's going to be in the Olympics 2024 is something like this. I'm not sure if they've decided everything already, but essentially it's going to be bouldering and lead combined instead of bouldering, speed and lead. So yeah, this route essentially, like as most of you know, I'm not quite the lead climber. I do 98% bouldering, and then I tie myself into a rope every now and then. I train a little bit of fitness and endurance though, which some of you might not know, but essentially I do like circuits and just staying on the wall for long, and a little bit of running, which has helped my endurance on the wall quite a bit. But clipping is difficult, and kind of knowing when to really try hard on a route is something that I've really come to realize is tricky. But yeah, let's jump into what's going on right now. So the jump that I just did that was the high point. I was the 5th climber out, and I knew that was the high point of the route. So lead climbing competitions usually have, or qualifiers, you can check all the other climbers out while they're going, and you also get a video in before the event, so you can sort of study the moves. The difficult thing here was that when I saw the first 5 climbers out and I stuck the dyno, I was the first one to stick it. I was like, oh, I'm done. That's really cool. Oh, I have the high point. That's super sick. So I kind of just left the mental part of myself lower down on the route than I should have, because at this point in time I wasn't especially tired or exhausted, but I was like celebrating in my mind the fact that I'd gotten so far. Big mistake. Like, one of the biggest things that I realized during this competition about sport climbing or lead climbing is that you kind of have to just keep on going and just try really hard, but at the same time reserve energy and just know that you can probably do all the moves on the route relatively easy if you just climb them correctly with like good technique, and as long as you stay focused on what you're doing, staying focused on being on the wall. So yeah, here I was like, I don't know, I was so done for, so I didn't really focus very much on every move. As you can tell, it's kind of like shaky, all of my climbing, and this is just, it's a bad starting position to be in. So here for the last move, I just didn't try hard enough, because I had been like done 20 moves earlier than that. I was mentally finished there, which was, yeah, pretty big mistake. Regardless, it went pretty good on the route. I think 2-3 other climbers topped it or something. So I mean, I'm still satisfied with the result. It's just that it could have been a little bit better if I would have focused a little bit more. The second route was a little bit more intimidating, because it seemed a lot more difficult. A lot of the climbers that were on this one had fallen quite early on, and I know that I can be a pretty clumsy climber, especially on lead, because I just don't know how to work everything. I don't know how to move as efficiently as maybe I should. So when I make a mistake, it can be a pretty big one, and I knew that like I had to perform on this route in order to make finals for lead, which would be required for me to make finals in combined, because there were only 6 spots in total, which means that if you don't make finals in boulder or lead, you're kind of screwed. So I knew that every point that I could get, every position that I could get higher would be very relevant to making the combined finals. But yeah, anyways, a lot of powerful moves. Some just like, the holds are actually quite good on this route, I would say. They're like shallow crimps, but they have a little bit of an edge for your thumb everywhere. A lot of the earlier holds were like that anyways. And from this point on, I'd secured a position that was higher than most of the other climbers. Most climbers fell at the move up to the left-hand crimp earlier. So this was a pretty good spot to be in, and I felt very comfortable on the wall actually. I felt like, man, I'm never gonna fall off here. And that was cool. So it was a pretty good feeling to feel secure on a route, because I never felt that in a competition when route climbing, because, well, first off, I lacked the experience of knowing how to be relaxed. And then second off, the routes have just been quite hard for me earlier. But that was also a mistake, because since all the moves felt quite easy, I stopped trying hard, which is what happened just there. I just didn't put in the effort to really finish that move and hold on. After that comes a more tricky section with like more delicate moves, which is I think a part that would suit me a lot better. It's a bummer, but it was what happened. Luckily, it was enough to make finals in lead, and that was the most important part, because the results in the finals are what counts for the combined event. So as long as you make finals, that's a good start. Second up was the boulder qualifiers. So the lead finals would be 2 days after. So yeah, let's take a look at that and see how that went. So yeah, first up was this pretty intricate slab. Starts with a just kind of step up type of move. You stand on a foothold that's fairly small, it's easy to slip off, but it's good if you're comfortable on a slab. If you've done quite a bit of slab climbing, this boulder was definitely not too much of a challenge. Like all slabs, it's impossible to know just how difficult it is. It's impossible to know the grade. And it's possible to know what you have ahead of you. But luckily I felt quite comfortable on this one and managed to get it on a flash, which put me of course in a good position. I assumed the round would be pretty hard because we had Jackie Gudoff and some other IFC route setters there, or actually, yeah, he was the only IFC route setter for the bouldering, but Nika was there as well, and he always sets tricky stuff. So yeah, I knew it would be a battle. So I was happy to start off on a good spot. However, the second boulder that we're looking at right now I sucked here. This was like one of the most infuriating moments in my competition history. I was I had no idea how to move. It was pretty much like, you know, you're just gonna stand up on a little piece of a pebble and then just move on. And I can tell you, like, when I looked at this afterwards, when I'd finished, I could see some of the other climbers, and it definitely wasn't as hard as I made it out to be. A lot of people had an easier time on it, and I kind of knew that would be the case, because I could feel that the boulder wasn't too difficult. It's just that I couldn't understand the positioning with the right arm there. I just didn't fully grasp how to move, which that was a bit nerve-wracking for the coming boulders, because I knew that, like, okay, some people are definitely going to get the zone on this one. And that puts me behind, because I felt that the first slab was going to be doable for a lot of people. But yeah, moving on to boulder number 3. This one was just like a pretty basic coordination type of move. You went from this compression into a massive jug. However, if you look at it, I try and grab it as an undercling right now. And the thing is, it has like this massive flake on top of it. It's like big edge that you're supposed to farm. And I realized that after the second go. Otherwise, I think this one could have gone quite easily on the first burn. But unfortunately, I missed that and hit it on the third instead. Super cool move, a lot of fun. Yeah, that's all I can say. It's like, yeah, it was a fun boulder, but it put me a little bit off again to make those mistakes that you don't really want to make. Anyways, boulder number 4 was, as you can tell, it's like sloper, kind of hanging on slopers, and usually this boulder would suit me like a freaking glove, but I unfortunately wasn't. I guess I wasn't focusing enough. I felt my hands were slipping a little bit, like I wasn't I was trying hard, but I was trying incorrectly as well. I was pretty much just pulling and assuming that I would do this one quite easily, but I had a little bit more trouble with it than I expected, which got a little bit tricky. But luckily I hit the zone on the first attempt, and then on the rest of the burns I was trying hard, trying to get my way to the top, but eventually I punted off and was just done for. Anyways, so going into the final boulder, I only had 2 tops and, well, the zones, except from the second one. So I wasn't nervous, I wouldn't say, but I was on edge. I was like, God damn it, you better top this one. And this one, as you can tell, is something I would call my style. It's like big holds, big moves on, yeah, like powerful positions. So I make it to the top on the first burn, but then I hit the hold slightly incorrectly. I was trying to hit a bolt hole at the top right corner with my thumb, but I missed it and then slipped off. So went for a second burn rather soon, wasn't too tired, I felt pretty solid. So I kept on moving, and I knew that this one would be within reach. It was just a matter of getting that last position in and taking it as safely as I could. So I matched it, jumped down, and then halfway through this jump, I realized that that's not a top. That's definitely not like a solid top. I don't know why I made this mistake. It was a major mistake, because really I think if I would have like properly tried to hold on like you would, I would have topped this boulder. But instead, in the end here, I fumbled and I didn't get the top of the third boulder, which I was not happy about. So this final boulder, when I missed the final match there, the big thing that was going through my head is like, when you establish on a boulder, you just put your feet on and then you keep on going. I had the same mentality when I matched it. I was like, I need to touch it and then I'm done. Touched it and then I was like, stopped really trying. And I think that's something I'm really good at, trying hard outdoors. Really, really good. Like I can get every inch of my power out there. But when I'm indoors, I do not try quite as hard. I don't give like that 110% that I kind of have to. Mostly because I've had to kind of get that away from my climbing style, because usually the thing that happens if you try really hard is that you can be a little bit more clumsy. And indoors, most of the time the boulders aren't that physically hard, so there's no need to try really hard. Except for when you do, except for when you really have to try hard. And I find the balance between that quite complex, and it's something that I think a lot of the top end competitors are extremely good at, just knowing when to like activate a little bit more and when to hold back a little bit more to be more precise, more delicate, etc. That's my theory anyways. I was lucky enough to make it to finals, but I was, yeah, as mentioned, I wasn't happy. That's just the way it was, if I'm being honest. But anyways, the final boulders just looked amazing. I was extremely happy to be there after all. Albeit a bit pissed off still from the qualifiers, but I felt like, okay, let's put on a good show and have a good time anyways. On the first boulder, you had this really good left-hand pinch at the zone. I felt like that was a pretty solid hold. But moving up to the right, I just couldn't quite find the position. So for the first couple of burns, I just fumbled a little bit. I didn't quite understand it, because you have to sort of rotate around your arm if you're dining the way I am. And that's not really the way to go. There were quite a few footholds here that I thought would be the ones you jumped off of, the one you can see on the left there. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing it wrong. I'll try going with the right arm. And nothing actually seemed to work to get up to that box. I knew that if I got to the box, the finishing move would be okay. But anyways, I figured I would include this clip because I didn't do the boulder, but Hannes Puman was there to show the audience what's what. And he had this like left foot here that I think would have made a pretty big difference. He was just better at reading the boulder than I was, and he's also stronger. So those things combined made him top the boulder, which put him in the first place for the, going into the second one. And this boulder, I was, you see the 4 marked starting positions, that's where you have to start. And I figured maybe I could jump up to the footholds instead, because it was pretty obvious that the idea would be feet first. But unfortunately I got called down for that, because it turns out those were intended for your feet, and you couldn't actually start with your hands on it because you would touch box and other holes. So anyhow, I switched to the feet first position, and it turns out that wasn't actually quite as hard as I thought it would be. So I did that on the first attempt when I tried it from feet first. I gotta say though, here I was completely out of place. I had no idea what I was doing or like where my body was, where I was spinning, but I managed to somehow get my way out of it and get to the zone hold here. And then I was like, okay, good, because the left foot there is a freaking massive, just massive thing that you stand on. And from that position, it was pretty much a basic mantle type of move to the top. And I could almost, I think we're actually gonna see it quite soon, how I lean in over to the left and go into like a no hands position for a little while to almost rest. Like here, I'm pretty much putting no pressure on my arms. I'm just like standing on my left foot, yeah, resting quite intensely. So I knew that if I just kept it together, I would get this top. And I figured that this top would be actually quite valuable. First climber out didn't get the zone on it, and so that would put me at least put me in a better position than that person. And I did figure that this boulder could be quite hard for people because it's physical. But unfortunately, I messed it up and slipped off instead. So that was a bummer because I really think I could have had that boulder, but that's what happens. But yeah, anyways, going into boulder number 3, I was in second place, I think, because nobody topped the first one except for Hannes, who also topped the second one. But nobody had the top on the second one, and I think I had the zones in the fewest attempts. So going into the third one, I was like, okay, I gotta top this one because we'd seen the fourth one in the viewings before the comp, and I saw that one would be very difficult. I didn't actually think anyone would top the last one. So I was like, okay, this one is the one that matters. The third one was actually looked like a very easy slab, very, very easy. And I knew that the climber before me had topped it, who was in 6th position going into the finals, and I was in 5th. So I was like, okay, good, just get this one done. Otherwise you're like not gonna place well. And I also knew that if I flashed it, I would make second, or get into the second position. So yeah, I was trying pretty hard. Unfortunately, I also sucked, to be honest. Like I don't think I've ever been so much up in my own head during a climb as I was on this one. I was focusing purely on the fact that like, okay, I gotta do this one. First off, I gotta do it. Second off, I gotta do it as soon as possible, like as quickly as possible. If I do it on the first burn, I'm good for second position. So I was really, really wanting it. Unfortunately, that's not good for me. Like I gotta purely focus on enjoying the moment and just trying to climb as well as I can. Here, as you can see, I was trying to get my left foot up on a yellow box. I couldn't get my left foot up there, and then I forgot that that one existed. I was like, maybe there isn't a yellow box there because I couldn't see it, which was partly demoralizing and also, not demoralizing, but like really, really annoying. So when I got down, I saw it again and I was like, oh, okay, get up there and just finish this freaking thing and just do this boulder. It's a super easy slab. Unfortunately, I didn't, but Frederick did and some of the other climbers did. So this was a pretty annoying moment because it put me from 2nd position into 5th right off the bat. And knowing that the last boulder would be difficult, I was kind of like, okay, I messed this competition up, and that's just the way it was. Yeah, there's not actually so much more to say about it. This last boulder had like this lean in over move, and it turned out that I was right about the fact that nobody topped it. That's just the way that the bouldering competition went. I got 0 tops, and I just messed everything up and had to deal with those emotions, which is actually, I'm pretty happy about that, because the thing about competitions, especially when you don't get to do so many of them. We don't have a lot in Sweden, so like it's just the Swedish nationals every year, and then I've done a few World Cups, as you know. And every competition is such a massive lesson as a climber, both in terms of like how to try hard, how to really put the effort in, and how to really like develop, and like what you need to motivate yourself. You get so much out of a competition, even the ones that goes terribly wrong. In the end, I placed 5th in the bouldering finals, and that was, yeah, a bit annoying, but it's what it is. So like you can't do more than try and move on. We had done what is it, 3 rounds in total now, and we had 1 more day, which is going to be the next episode. That's the finals in lead as well as the combined finals. But anyways, what I wanted to say is that sometimes competitions just don't go the way you kind of want them to, and yeah, you gotta just use it as fuel for training, use it as fuel for like motivation. Same thing goes for most things, I'd say. Like, the losses are also the times that you can really reflect on what you're doing wrong and try to improve. So all in all, I'm very happy with these 2 rounds that you saw, even though I might have been like bashing myself for 20 minutes or whatever now. But yeah, those are it for the lessons for this video. We're gonna, as mentioned, in the next video, take a look at the combined finals. So if you haven't subscribed, do that and you won't miss that video. If you have any comments or questions or anything like that, drop them in the section down below. And if you liked the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, peace out, folks.